Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Coaches Show. I'm Lloyd Shoemaker, your host, and obviously, according to what I'm about to say, this is the coach over here, Bill Nees. We want to thank our sponsors for the Coaches Show. We want to thank First Choice Paint and Body Shop, located on County North 25A in Piqua, Ohio. If you have a dent in your car, you want to get it fixed, go see those guys. And also, I want to thank our halftime sponsors in Coverman, Staley, Dickerson Insurance, with 3 offices in Miami County, 1 in Troy, 1 in Covington, and 1 in downtown Piqua. Coach, coming off probably one of the worst defeats that we've ever had that I can remember in Piqua history. I'm sure you can remember others if there were, but we won't go there if we don't have to. But the final score of that ball game, 62-20. You're down. It was 28-7 at halftime. You scored, I think, with about 4 minutes to go, and they came back and scored on you again. But you also got the ball coming out third quarter. They decided to take the ball first. They tried to do what I had indicated a few years ago, get the momentum and get it going. Even down at 28-7 going into halftime, did you feel like you had a chance yet?
Well, actually, I thought we did. When the game started, they elected to choose the ball first, and I thought that was a great sign that we got them to go 3 and out. And so I think, at that point we'd gained an extra possession, and we immediately went on offense, had a 45-yard run, brought back with a holding call, and then that kind of sputtered us out. Went back to them again, and in the first 4 possessions that they had, we were able to stop them 2 of the 4 times. So we felt relatively comfortable. I think probably the 2 big turning points of the game, when we started to feel uncomfortable, was where they scored, immediately got an onside kick. And we had worked, incessantly on that onside kick for a couple of reasons. Number one, it had happened last week, and so we knew that people that watch films are going to see it. Number two, Mike's like known for his onside kick. He anytime there's a big game, it's an onside kick. We coach together Big 33, onside kick. Virtually everything. So we knew that, and I think that's got him a little bit of momentum. And then the second to last time, right before the end of the half, where I thought we had some good momentum gone. It was 21-7 at that point, and we couldn't convert. We went 3 and out. We couldn't convert on a hitch pass up the sidelines. We're a couple yards short. We had to punt. They went down and scored, and all of a sudden we go in the locker room 28-7. Not real comfortable at that point.
Yeah, 21-7 was not a bad number for us going into halftime. You're right. I think I was even feeling, even though I was uncomfortable with, again, we're talking about their athleticism. They're just very athletic ball club all the way around. But I still felt like with our conditioning, with our experience, with our talented runners and receivers, that we still had a chance in that ball game.
Oh, definitely. And if we would have been able to go down and score, we could have gone in the locker room 21-14.
Yeah.
Down, coming out with the ball. I think it would have been a little different mindset, a little bit of a different story.
Yeah. Well, you talk about being out there a lot on defense. From position standpoint, according to the GWalk numbers, we actually had the ball longer than they did, 30 minutes to their 29.
Mm-hmm. But the problem we had was we would go 1 or 2 plays and turn it over to them. They were going on 3 series. They went 1 or 2 plays and scored.
Yeah.
And so their 1 or 2 plays were producing 7 points. Our 1 or 2 plays were producing good field position for them.
They were finding a lot of open receivers in the defense.
Well, I think one of the things they were they never really threw the ball. When you think about it, they never really threw the ball downfield. No. Everything was across, and if we would have been able to rally out there and contain it and keep it where it should be, that would have been fine. The one time they threw it deep on us, they did hit us on a backside post, but generally it was just mostly the lateral stuff and then catching. After the yards after catch deal is what hurt us quite a bit. They had I think over 200. I think it was 206 yards of yak yards after they caught the ball. Now that's what'll break your back.
Well, they had total 527 yards altogether on the night, 170 of those passing and 357 on the rushing side. But you're right, they were breaking a lot of tackles. They were getting good blocks out there from their wide receivers when the backs were coming out of the backfield.
One of the big lessons we learned watching those guys, and anytime you get defeated, you better learn something from watching the opponents. And one of the things we learned was they block for each other. It doesn't matter if one receiver's got the ball, 3 other ones are finding their way. Probably the most outstanding blocker on their team was their running back, who flew out of the backfield as they were throwing the ball. He would fly out of the backfield, and they would bring it back around and he was just, anybody that was near, he was just taking them out. It was like a missile.
So you talk about learning something out of that ball game. What about the players? I mean, you get on the bus after a game like that. It's got to be pretty quiet. I would think in your mind it better be pretty quiet.
Yeah, it was.
And so, as a team, what do you take away from that?
Well, what you got to do is you got to go back and watch the film, and you got to find out what you guys have done, what we've done well, what we didn't do well. I think it's pretty obvious on some of the stuff. You got to start plugging in different drills that you need to do. We put in 2 new tackling drills today that we hope can help us on playing the cutbacks, which I think was important. You got to trail that thing and then be able to plant your foot and come back. I think. Offensively, on the offensive line, I think we've got to be a little bit more physical. We've got to, our zone scheme is fine, and that's great. But when you got a penetrating, blitzing defense like that, we've got to be able to just line it up and come after you, and not be able to just maybe step and pick where things are going. So I think those. Anytime you lose, it always causes you just to re-examine everything you're doing. Sometimes you win and you gloss over some of those little things you're doing wrong because everybody's happy. But when you lose, it causes everything to stop. So I thought we did a good job Saturday of coming in and evaluating a lot of the film. Players understood it. Don't necessarily have to stand there and scream and throw coffee cups and stuff. Although voices did get raised occasionally. But that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you've got a pretty sharp bunch of kids out there, and we'll find out Friday night how much they learned from all that.
Yeah, and we got another big test coming up Friday.
Yeah,
this is another outstanding team. We knew going into the season that we were going to have back-to-back, big games. And really, you start off the year with 4 big games.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, isn't Northmont 1 and 2?
Well, Northmont's 1 and 2, but the 2 teams that beat them are 2 big Division I undefeated teams. They got beat by Lakota East, who's 3rd in the computer right now, and they got beat by Hilliard Darby, who's 5th in the computer right now. 2 3-0 teams.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what that score was with Northmont, Hilliard 42-21, Fairfield, they won that one 31-24, lost to East by 34-17, double score. We got our first touchdown from our good friend Trent Yeomans, 14. Was that a 99-yard run? No, that wasn't a 99-yard run. 14. Anyhow, 7. It was 21-7 going in at halftime, or 28-7 going into halftime, and Yeomans had a touchdown to get us on the board in the second quarter, and then they came back, as we talked about, right after that and scored just before we went in at halftime. What kind of adjustments were you making then when you were in there at halftime?
Well, at halftime, the biggest thing we had to do is we had to adjust to their speed, and we had to make sure that we were getting the right numbers. It wasn't necessarily a numbers game, meaning how many are in the box, how many are not in the box, because they were just calling plays based on they just try to call plays as fast as they can. So they don't even want to look and see if you got a number, if you've got a blitz, if you got anything. Their deal is just fast. So we had to make sure that we were sound in what we're doing, so we can at least have some people out there, to have a chance to tackle. And then on offense, we were trying to be able to control that line of scrimmage, and we just could not control the line of scrimmage.
They were, like you say, they were going to the line and running the plays. They weren't even backing off from the line once they got up there. How do you do that? I mean, is it just all
Well, they
signals?
only run the same 3 plays. They only have 3 plays. They run them, and then they have the wristbands, and they just look at the wristband, and there's a variation of how to run it in terms of formations. But they just snap it in and go.
Yeah. So
it's an offense. It's a great offense, but it's feast or famine. It's either working or it's totally not working.
Yeah.
One of the two, and if it's totally not working, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So when they're doing that, then you don't have a chance to really substitute on the defensive line, though, do you?
No, not really. And what we worked on the week is we had to make sure that everybody was real close to me, and I was able to put an extra linebacker in, extra defensive back, spell our defensive linemen if we could. So, we made the best of it. If the ball's on a hash to your side, usually you can get something in.
Did you, in the films that you looked at, is that exactly what you saw that Mike did up there? In the other games?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we played against them last year, so we've dealt with it. When the Lima radio guy asked me the question, were we ready for had we been ready for their speed? And And I said, we played it last year. I said, because he said something about, did you know how fast they were, or does it show on film? And I said, we played them last year. He says, we know how fast they were.
Yeah, they were more explosive this year.
Yeah, I believe they were. I think, actually, the biggest thing with them is they're better on defense.
Yeah.
Last year we could just score at will on them, and this year that was the big deciding factor, I think.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, folks, because it's history, and the coaches got it taken care of, and the players know what they have to do to come back against Northmont. Coach, let's take a minute here and break for halftime. We're going to talk to a couple of your seniors, wide receivers, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the third and fourth quarter is going to be covered mostly with what's coming up and how they've been doing. So we'll talk about the conference. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our halftime show brought to you by Coverman Staley Dickerson Insurance. They have 3 offices in Miami County, one down in Troy, one over in Covington, and one in downtown Piqua. If you need insurance, they're your independent agency. Give them a call. We want to thank them for being our sponsors for the halftime show. On either side of me are 2 of the fastest guys on the Piqua football team, according to them. And this is Noah Gertner on my left, and this is Tate Honeycutt to my right without all the facial hair. And we want to thank them for being part of our show today. Noah, I'm not going to dwell on this, but we just came off of a very embarrassing defeat up at Lima Senior. How does that affect you mentally, getting whooped like that by a team?
It just makes you think, and it just makes you want to work harder on the things you do and get better next week for the next game.
What do you think you have to do differently?
I think I just got to do my part and keep getting better at what I do.
Okay. You had a reception, I think, for 11 yards in that game up there. Were they that tough defensively against you guys, or were we just not having a good night defensively ourselves?
It was just an off night for us, kind of, and they were a solid team. They were a pretty solid team.
Very athletic ball club. They were very athletic last year when they came in here. And Tate, you and I have had conversations about football and basketball before. You are truly one of the fastest guys out there. And I tell you, when you don't have a hole, you make one, or cause somebody to miss you to allow you to get on 5 or 6 more yards down the field. How did you feel about that ball game?
It was a long night. I mean, they out-physicaled us a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just bigger and stronger. They just took over, and we just didn't try to get back in the game. It was just bad.
Yeah, it was not a good night. I'll tell you what, though, it was perfect weather night-wise. I mean, you guys, we had one guy with cramping up, I think, on Piqua. I don't remember who that was, but that's the first time all year I've seen anybody cramp up for Piqua on the field. The officials even wore shorts. I mean, what else could you ask for in a football game? Get to see the hairy legs of the officials out there. You've got Northmont coming up this week, Tate, and it's been a number of years since we've actually played them in a game, either here or over there, and they've been a Division I, a solid Division I team. I think right now record might be 1-2. How do you feel about Northmont?
I mean, they're always going to be good. We scrimmaged them before, and they're just a tough team. I mean, they're going to be able to – it's going to be a good game.
You had a scrimmage with them this year, right?
No,
No,
not this year.
last year?
Yes.
Okay, last year. Now, normally they're pretty well known for their quarterbacks. Any idea what they've got going on back there this year?
Not this year. I mean, I guess he's a solid kid, but we'll have to see.
Okay. All right, Noah, what do you think about Northmont coming in here and playing on your field?
Same thing as Tate. They're going to be a tough team, and they're going to be just like Lima Senior. They're going to be physical.
It's a much larger school. I think they are still Division I, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun watching you guys play and get even for last Friday night against Lima Senior. That was not a fun thing to watch, and you're right. It was a long night. The clock just didn't want to move fast enough when it's going that bad for you. But, Noah, what's your plans after high school? You know, football's going to be done, and, you're in the 3rd game now and figuring we're going to get in the playoffs minimum. What's going to happen to you after football?
I'm actually hoping maybe to go to Ohio State. We'll see though. See how it pans out for
You
me.
going to walk on and be a wide receiver?
I don't know if that's in my future. We'll see though. We'll see.
What are you going to study over there?
It's actuarial science actually. It's a math major, science major.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You guys all you guys are so smart. Tate, getting back to you. What are you going to do after high school and football? You're going to play basketball, right?
Yeah, this season I will, but I'm hoping to play college football somewhere.
Okay. Getting any feelers yet?
UD is probably about it right
You
now.
got a friend playing down there.
Yeah, Travis Nees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he play over the weekend, do you know?
He plays special teams.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Oh, he's a good player. They ought to start him someplace at safety or something like that. He's just a solid football player. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you for being on the program, and we wish you luck Friday night, both of you guys, and let's go out and get that third win for the Indians, okay? All right, we want to thank you for being with us at halftime. Again, our sponsor is Coverman Staley Dickerson Insurance with 3 offices in Miami County, Covington. Who's the other one? Troy. Thanks, Tate. And Piqua, downtown Piqua. Good insurance company, independent agency. We'll be back in a minute with the coach for the third quarter. Don't go away. All right, welcome back. Lloyd Shoemaker, Coach Bill Nees. We want to talk a little bit about the upcoming schedule, but first we want to again thank our sponsors, First Choice Paint and Body Shop on North 25A in Piqua, Ohio, and our halftime sponsors. We want to thank them again for taking care of having the young men on at halftime, and that's Coverman Staley Dickerson Insurance with 3 offices in Miami County, 1 in Troy, 1 in Covington, and 1 in downtown Piqua. Coach, when you look at the overall conference of the GWAC, the 3 conferences, the Central, you've got Centerville and Wayne both undefeated at 3-0, and then after that, Beaver Creek, Fairmont, Northmont, and Springfield all at 1-2. Have you seen or heard much about Centerville and Wayne? What's going on?
No, we've seen film of Wayne. We haven't not seen any film of Centerville. Usually, by this time, everybody's film has crossed your path one way or the other. And when Wayne looks obviously outstanding. Haven't heard much about Centerville though. We have not seen them on tape. I think everybody else though we have seen on tape.
In the North Conference, which is the conference we're in, Trotwood, Piqua, Butler, Greenville, Sidney, and Troy. Trotwood, not surprising, 3-0 on the season so far, although they aren't dominating like they have the last 2 years. Piqua 2-1, and then you've got Butler, Greenville, and Sidney at 1-2, and then Troy 0-3. So far, they're still suffering down there in southern Miami County.
That's tough.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. We don't see Trotwood until the 17th. Well, that'd be a nice win. That's my birthday. You do that for me?
We'll give it a shot.
Okay.
We'll give it a shot.
Last year, it was a 69-34 loss here, unfortunately. Yeah,
69-35.
69-35, okay. And then 2 years ago, 26-23 over at Trotwood. That's hard to forget. That was stolen from us.
I still say it was. As a matter of fact, I met one of the officials of that game, and he agreed with me. Of course, he claimed it. He claimed he had nothing to do with it, and I said, "Why didn't you stop it then?"
Yeah.
But that will still go down. On my final days is one of the most the worst things that's happened.
That
to us here.
that was a big game because I think we ended up 6-4 that year.
We would have been a playoff team. We would have been everything.
Yeah, exactly. And that kept them undefeated.
Yeah.
Didn't they win the state that year?
Yes.
Yes, they did. Okay, and in the South Conference, Miamisburg, Springboro, Xenia, Fairborn, Lehman, and West Carrollton. Only undefeated team there is Miamisburg so far. Springboro is 2-1, Xenia 2-1, Fairborn, Lebanon 1-2, and West Carrollton 0-3. They actually got beat by Sidney pretty good last Friday night.
And the South's always an interesting league. The South always usually has the South. Can't remember the South ever having just one champion. They always have 2 people, sometimes 3. And, Springboro's going to be a good football team. They had to fill some holes, but, we scrimmaged them. I think they're pretty good. Xenia is probably going to be one of the surprise teams. The only loss they have is the big 55-7 loss against Muller this weekend. But otherwise, they've done a nice job with the new spread offense, and they were down here scrimmaging us one time too. So they're a good football team.
They've been down for the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah,
Quite a bit,
they've been
haven't
down
they?
for a while. But Bob DeLong is kind of systematically moving them along, back up to the top, and it looks like this could be a good year for them.
West Carrollton 0-3. They just I don't know what it is about West Carrollton. I don't know if it's location or what, but they don't seem to get the athletes at the other schools around them, like Miamisburg and Springboro and so forth.
No, unfortunately, they've had a couple good years. I think in '95 or '96 we actually had a pretty tough game with them, a 6-0 game, and they went through a couple year span. But generally speaking, they've just not been able to get it rolling.
Miamisburg, I'm hearing rumbles about a new stadium, new field down there. You heard anything about that?
Yeah, I heard they got a donation. Now, Steve Chenal, who used to be at Edgewood, he's now, and if anybody's ever been down to Edgewood, they've got a great facility. They got a big football building. It looks like a small college down there. And it looks like the same thing's going to happen down at Miamisburg. And they've needed a new facility for a long time. They're probably, they're just stuck right in the middle of a neighborhood. There's no parking.
Right.
There's just not much going on for them. So it'll be good for them.
Yeah. And then a big game for them every year is Springboro, Miamisburg. I assume they play every year like we play Troy.
Yep.
And that'll be an interesting ball game. It always
definitely,
is.
definitely.
Yeah. And then Xenia throwing in that mix. Now I assume they play each other. You play everybody within.
You play everybody
Yeah.
once, and then you have one crossover with
Yep.
each one of the other areas.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how all washes out at the end of the year. But I guess the interesting thing to me right now is that Sydney's got that one win, and it was a pretty good sized win over West Carrollton.
Yeah, they scored some points.
Last Friday night,
Scored
yeah,
some
it was 55-28.
Yeah.
We were able to get some things out there pretty good. Well, let's take a look at what's coming up here in the coming weeks. This coming Friday night on the 19th, we're going to be home against Northmont. It's been a while since we've played Northmont, and I think it was over there the last time we played.
Yeah, I think 2006. 2006 was the last time we played Northmont. But we have been scrimmaging them, in the course of the years and stuff. So we've kept a little bit of contact with them.
Well, I talked to as you could tell, I talked to the halftime guest a little bit about Northmont and the fact that they're known for their quarterbacks. I don't know if that's the case this year. I'm not hearing a whole lot about Northmont quarterback.
Well, they got kind of a running quarterback. I think he's more of a zone option quarterback. They're not throwing the ball as much as they usually do. They're not a drop back throwing team.
Yeah, that's
they're
what they
more
used
of
to
a
be.
play action passing team. So it's a little different. A little bit more of mixing in run pass, and trying to get people to come up, throw behind them, not just that get back and throw like
More
they
like
usually do.
what we do?
Yeah, their passing game probably a little bit more similar to us.
Okay. What about running backs? They got a good one?
Running back, they have a pretty good running back. Average is about 150 a game. They've got a big H-back that's played for them for 3 years, a 6'2", about a 235-pound kid, and they move him back and forth, and then usually he's at the point of attack, or he's backside at the point of attack so nobody can chase it down.
Okay. Well, that's this coming Friday night, Northmont at home, game time 7 o'clock. After that, we take on Fairborn. That's an away game down at Fairborn, 34-6 the last time we won. And that was, I don't remember when that was, but that was probably, 2-3 years ago?
It was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
2 since the last time we flipped over,
Yeah, that was an interesting ball game because they had, that night, if I remember correctly, they introduced their seniors, and it seemed like almost every one of their seniors was going someplace to play basketball.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the one. They had a really good group of seniors, and they were really athletic kids, but they all enjoyed basketball. That sounded pretty good, though, at the beginning. When I found out they were all going to college to play basketball, I was like, okay, that might help us.
On the 3rd of October, we're going to go down to Vandalia. 2013, that was a 31-14 loss to Vandalia. The game that I remember was the year before down at Vandalia, 7-0. It went right down to the very end. 2 very strong ball clubs, just knocking heads.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be something like that again this year, and we've got to get going on Vandalia. It's been a 2-year deal now. For a while there, we had their number. I think we defeated them like 17 straight times, and now it's kind of been going back and forth. But I think it's time for us to get back on that other end, hopefully.
Well, I'm looking for them here in my notes on Vandalia. Oh, there they are. Wilmington 32, Butler 28. 1-2 coming into the ball game. They won over Springfield Shawnee 53-43 and lost to Tecumseh 18-17. Tecumseh's not a bad ball club.
Tecumseh, we scrimmaged them, and they have a pretty good attack.
Yeah. Fairborn, they lost 33-21 to Beaver Creek last Friday night. They'd also won over Springboro 7-6 and lost to Tecumseh 6-0. So Tecumseh's doing
Seems
okay.
like Tecumseh's beating everybody on our schedule.
Yeah, let's keep them off of ours. Greenville on the 10th of October at home. Last year it was 51-27. Piqua won that ball game, and then the year before it was 38-33 Piqua. Do they still have that Grillo kid?
Yeah, but he's hurt right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's hurt. I think he was hurt 2 games ago, so I'm not sure. Haven't heard anything about when he'll be able to get back in or what type of injury it was or anything like that, but I know he hasn't played in the last 2 weeks.
He's got to be a senior.
Junior, actually.
Junior.
Yeah, he's a junior.
Well, he started as a freshman. Didn't
Yes,
he?
yes.
Started quarterback as a freshman. Pretty good basketball player, too.
Yep.
Greenville last Friday night beat Preble Shawnee 40-19. They're 1-2 on the season. They lost to Eaton 34-28 and lost to Tip City 42-14. On the 17th is Trotwood. That's a home game. We talked a little bit about that. Is Trotwood as talented now as they have been in the previous 2 or 3
You know,
4 years?
actually, I can't answer the question because that Trotwood's one of the few teams I have not seen on film. I have not got a chance to look at them. We haven't had any crossover games or anything that would lead me into their little file. And so I don't know.
Okay.
I know they have some kids back, but I don't know how many of the kids are back. They have an outstanding quarterback that's gone to Michigan.
Yeah.
So, but we've played against some pretty darn good quarterbacks so far this year. So we'll roll when that happens.
At this point, what's one more, right? Trotwood Madison won their game against Sycamore 33-30, a close ball game for them. I don't know too much about where is Sycamore, by the way, Dan?
It's outside of Cincinnati.
Okay. And then, so they're 3-0. They also beat Springfield 34-6, and they won over Thurgood Marshall 28-21, close ball game there.
Yeah, it's either they're playing some pretty competitive teams, or the other way around, and you just won't be able to tell until you get those films and start looking at some stuff.
Well, on the 24th of October, then the following week, we go up to Sydney and play on their new turf. It's pretty much been our kind of a ball game with them. Last year it was 46-17 here. In 2012 it was a 12-3 Mud Bowl win up there. I know that's fun to watch, and it's fun for the kids once they get into the mud.
Yeah.
But that first slop down in that stuff is a shocker. The year before that, 2011, 75-14 Piqua.
It seems like that every time I think of Sydney, it seems like we're playing them in mud.
Yeah.
So, somewhere, whether it be mud up here when one of the great games with Quinn Pitcock, or whether it be mud down there. So with both of us having turf now, there's no more mud. So we'll be able to get them gone. I hear some stuff that they're much improved. I know they got a tough schedule and everything, and there's some of the teams in their conference are pretty good. I know Bell Fountain's pretty good, this year. So that remains to be seen how the Jackets are done.
You mentioned Quinn Pitcock. That was the night he played fullback.
Yeah.
That was interesting when I saw that guy go in there.
Yeah.
Fullback. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a point or a nose guard right now. So Sydney so far 55-28 over West Carrollton. They lost to St. Mary's 71-21, which brings up a question for me, and I'll give this other score first. Bell Fountain 41-7. What happened to the clock running continually in the ball game when it's 30 points or more Friday night?
It was run.
It was running all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, it seemed like every time I looked at it, it was stopped in that second half.
Well, I think they stop it. There's certain things they stop. What they don't stop the clock for an incomplete pass. But it's not a completely...
It's not a change of possession stops?
Yeah, that stops. They're just
Okay.
talking about there's certain things that won't stop.
Because I wasn't the only one in the box that was questioning it, because others didn't seem to see the clock stopping like we thought it should.
There's a couple times I looked over and I was wondering why it stopped, and I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody to see, but I'm sure either they were mismanaging the whole thing, or there was some different things that happen that you don't know about.
Well, I thought it would be.
Right.
I thought it would be
exactly
more
right.
obvious. I thought it would be more obvious. Okay, and then we finished the season on October 31st. Troy is here. Last year it was 33-27 down there. Year before it was 14-0 here. And the year before that it was 7-27 in favor of the bad guys in Troy.
Yeah, well,
you had a lot of injuries that ball game, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one where we got banged up. We had about 3 kids at the hospital that night, and ended up with our starting quarterback having to play defensive back for us the entire game also.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a rough night for us.
Well, Troy so far this year, they got beat last Friday night by Miamisburg, who we talked about earlier, 45-14. They lost to CJ 42-7. That surprised me. I didn't realize CJ was that strong in football. Are they pretty strong in
They've
football?
got a couple 2-3 kids that are pretty good. They've got a quarterback that's pretty outstanding.
Yeah, I
They've
know
got
in basketball they're usually pretty
Yeah.
strong.
and they've got a very good running back. So that combination right there is pretty good for them.
And then they lost to Northwest, somebody, 23-0.
Cincinnati Northwest.
Cincinnati Northwest,
Yeah.
23-0. Okay, so that's kind of where we are right now with the schedule upcoming. Coach, anything you want to add about any of the games coming up, or?
Well, I just think that they're going to be exciting. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on at the stadium with the new jumbotron coming in. We've got the new surround down underneath the stadium. So hopefully we can add some excitement onto the field also and get a big rebound back from the Lima Senior game and come out against Northmont.
Is the new scoreboard going to be in place Friday?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know they're currently up there painting a little bit right now, and I don't know the exact date.
It's your field, Coach.
I understand it's not my scoreboard though.
Okay, we'll give you that one.
That's the school.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen, Friday night, 7 o'clock, be out here and watch the Indians take on Northmont, and let's root them on to a win. We need one right now really bad to keep everything going good for us in the playoff situation. Coach, thanks for being with us tonight. Good luck Friday night. We want to thank you for being with us, Lloyd Shoemaker, Coach Bill Nees. We'll see you next time.